Hi everybody, and welcome back to another video blog on Oreo. I've had a lot of requests about what he's been doing in the last couple months while I've been healing my collarbone and ribs. So we decided to keep him at home and work with one of my students, Chriss Cardwell. Chriss has an incredible amount of experience doing groundwork with her mentor, Peter Campbell and Trina Campbell. This is been very, very helpful for Oreo. We decided to kind of back up to the basics and help him get some confidence in how to move his body. So this first clip here is of day 2, where he is starting to learn kind of how to answer some of the aids she gives him without frustration and confusion. But the next clip is of the first day, which shows just how confused he was about what she was asking. So the basic goal here was to have Oreo move a specific foot, his outside front, when she asks him to go to the left in that case. And you can see he moved his right front first. He also kind of charges off and thinks he knows the right answer, which is to go away into a trot. His frustration here is because she's telling him you can't charge away, and you also need to put a specific foot forward. And the reason for that is that the horse is in better balance when they use that outside front foot first. And anybody who rides and works with horses knows that when you get some confusion and tension, everything kind of starts to snowball. So right here, he's getting super distracted with things around the outside of the arena, and he can't quite multitask and keep his attention on Chriss. So even just with an overnight thinking, or as Chriss calls it, the soak, he really got it much better the next day, which was really cool. He learned some patience, and he learned how to separate out what she was asking him to do. The next thing that Chriss introduced was the flag, and the idea with the flag is to not desensitize the horse, but to add another kind of stimulus that allows the horse to determine what aid is for him and what is something that he should ignore. In this case, initially the flag caused a huge amount of worry for him, and he was concerned about it. And here you can see that he's just accepted it as part of Chriss and that it isn't really directed at him. One of the things she worked a lot on was getting Oreo to just stand still while she walked and stood on either side of him, the left and the right. The point of this is to have Oreo allow her in and not block her. And this becomes important, especially when you're working in the horse's side and they don't push you, that they accept you standing in kind of their uncomfortable zones. And this is a major theme in Chris's training, is that she wants the horses to be able to separate out those aids and stimulus that are for the horse and those that are not for the horse. And you can see how this applies to when you're riding, that if you're in the warm-up arena and the horse has a horse bronking next to them, that your own horse realizes that that is not for them and they should pay attention to the rider. So now she's progressed to moving the flag on his body and touching him. And what's important here is the intention of the touch. Like when she's rubbing him, in her mind, she's also picturing really petting the horse. And this is important because at some point she's going to tap him, and her intention is that he walks forward. Then she's going to rub him again, and he's going to stop. So the idea is that Oreo starts to separate out what these two different aids really are. And in this sequence, you can also very clearly see how he does not really want her to stand at his side, and he is slowly starting to avoid her and shift his body around. And Chriss walks over to his side. When he stops his feet, she also stops her feet and relieves the pressure, and then starts petting him again with the flag. And you can see he is not a fan of it going low on his legs. When he reacted negatively to the flag being down by his legs, Chriss did not pull the flag away, but she immediately started petting him again to teach him to stand still and accept that little bit of pressure and start to ignore kind of those things that scare him, because she's going to go to a place that makes him feel good.
Yeah.
And now she's going to tap him on the rear, and he's going to walk forward. She's going to continue to rub on him, and he's going to stop his feet eventually. And she relieves the pressure and steps away so that he knows he did a good job. So here's another game that Chriss played with the horses. Here's Baker. Let me introduce him. He is a 5-year-old thoroughbred who is very emotional and dramatic, as you can tell. So the purpose of adding Baker to this equation is to have Oreo separate out those aids that are for him and those are not for him. The goal is to have Oreo track Chriss and not get wrapped up into the drama that Baker is bringing into this little session. As you can tell, Oreo is a lot slower than Baker, and he almost has Baker running into him at times. And as Baker starts to slow down and process the whole question, it also allows Oreo to get a little bit better at his job at just paying attention to Chriss. He should be facing you right now, right?
Yeah. Oreo should just like Baker was yesterday.
Yep.
See, now Oreo's starting to figure it out.
Yeah.
And Baker's going a little slower, so Oreo gets some time.
We both thought Oreo did a very good job at not taking Baker's drama personally, so that's a step forward. And now here's another game that we played with Oreo. I say we, Chriss. Chriss did all the hard work here. But let me introduce her horse, Quinn. Quinn was the horse that she rode with me when she first became my student years ago, and he was pretty much a hot mess. He was pretty dangerous and very difficult to ride, very difficult to get through his head. And Chriss was so clever and figured out that traditional lessons that she was getting from me wasn't right for Quinn. And so she really started to focus on this groundwork with Peter Campbell and Tom Durrance and a few other mentors that really allowed her to access kind of the good parts of him. And after this video, I think everyone is going to agree with me that Quinn is pretty much a star. So the point of this exercise is to allow Quinn and Chriss to stand at Oreo's side, and he accepts their presence. As you can tell here, he's constantly yielding. He wants to turn and face her and keep his feet moving. She wants him to keep his feet still and eventually come over and give him a pat.
Because like right now, you come one step towards him, he goes one step back.
Exactly. Or he wants to block me with his head. Or go sideways. Like, I just want to stand it.
Got it.
And in a short time, she's able to get a little bit closer. He stops his feet, and she stretches out of the saddle to just give him a pet as a reward. Ideally, she wants to get a little bit closer, and pretty quickly she does, and Oreo starts to realize that it's okay to let a horse and rider into his protective bubble, and nothing bad is going to happen. And superstar Quinn never breaks that trust, which is great. So this last little game I'm going to show you pretty much gets to the heart of the issue of trust and allowing the presence of the horse and rider on Oreo's uncomfortable zones. So the goal here is to initially just stand like a T with Quinn facing Oreo and Oreo standing still. And very slowly, Chriss is going to tell Quinn to put his head and neck over top of Oreo's back, and Oreo stands still and kind of relax into it. So the first time that she did it, we actually had a large amount of success. I think Oreo didn't know what was coming, so he was a little bit questioning and just standing still and waiting. But once he felt the pressure of Quinn's head and neck on his back, he decided he didn't really like it. And that has kind of been a little bit of a struggle for him to accept it. But you can see here he's cocking his head and he's sort of waiting for something to happen, even though he doesn't know what it is. What I was most impressed with was watching Quinn. He is receiving a huge amount of aids from Chriss, almost conflicting aids, stop, go, sideways, left, right, and he doesn't get frustrated with it at all. He really knows his job here, and she spent a huge amount of time teaching him what to do. Apparently his forte is doing this with pushy horses, and so she's being very careful to try and help him realize that Oreo is not a horse that needs obedience work. He actually just needs confidence. After letting the lesson soak for a week, we took them out into the outdoor arena, and we did this a lot. Chriss would work the horses in the indoor, or work, Oreo alone in the indoor, and then change location. And the goal is that the different stimulation from the outside or the inside kind of helps Oreo still focus on the important matter at hand. Clearly, Oreo is definitely unsure of what to do here. He leans into Quinn and actually takes a little nip at him right there, just showing his discomfort. So it's just something we'll kind of work on, and it's not a hugely important game, but it is definitely kind of one of those stepping stones that you use to build other skills. Our next goal is to do all of these things with the saddle on and have Oreo gain confidence with the pressure of the saddle. Thanks a lot for watching.